Scrolling for dollars, taxing big tech for a better future. Welcome back to News Unpacked. Today, we're diving into a fascinating proposal that could change how we interact with screens and how big tech operates. Jamie, what's buzzing?
Alex, it's the Education Not Endless Scrolling Act from Representative Jake Auchincloss. It aims to make trillion-dollar social media companies pay up for our communities.
Education Not Endless Scrolling. Great name. What's the core idea? How will they pay up?
Right. The bill proposes a 50% excise tax on digital ad revenue, but only for companies making over $2.5 billion from ads. It targets the massive social media giants.
Wow, 50% is huge. Why this bill? What problem is it solving?
Auchincloss calls it an information crisis. He argues big tech's focus on clickbait and digital dopamine creates addictive behaviors, especially in kids, and erodes political discussions, hurting local journalism.
I see that. My kids are always on phones. Local news struggles. Does the bill mention specific data?
It does. Harvard researchers found that in 2022, young people, ages 0 to 17, generated nearly $11 billion in ad revenue for 6 major platforms. For some, 30–40% of their ad revenue comes from young users. That's a lot of money from kids scrolling.
That's shocking. If this tax generates revenue, where would it go? How would it help?
Excellent question. The money would split into 3 areas: one-on-one tutoring and support for vocational technical schools to help people get job skills.
Practical investments. And the third area?
The third is a local journalism preservation fund. This helps local newspapers hire journalists or small businesses advertise, combating the fact that 40% of U.S. local newspapers have vanished, leaving millions without local reporting.
Incredible. So it's taking profits from big tech's advertising, often from addictive content, and reinvesting it into vital community services like education and local news. A direct response to social media's negative impacts.
Exactly. It's about holding these corporations accountable and strengthening societal pillars. A choice: let tech titans exploit the economy or tax profits to invest in our future.
A clear choice. Interesting to see how this bill progresses. Thanks, Jamie. Vietnam's economic rocket ride, surpassing $690 billion.
Hey Jamie, ever feel like the global economic news is always a mixed bag? One day it's up, the next it's down.
Absolutely, Alex. It's like a constant roller coaster. But today, we've got a really exciting story that's definitely on the upswing.
That's right. We're shining a spotlight on Vietnam, and their latest economic numbers are seriously impressive.
Seriously impressive is an understatement. Their total outstanding loans to the economy just blew past 18.2 quadrillion Vietnamese dong, which is equivalent to a huge $690.4 billion by late November.
Wow, $690.4 billion? That's a staggering figure. And it's not just big, it's showing incredible growth, isn't it?
Exactly. That's a phenomenal 16.56% increase from the end of 2024, significantly faster than their 11.47% growth last year, and even more than all of 2024. That's huge.
So real acceleration there, which is fantastic to see. And the deputy governor of the State Bank of Vietnam, Pham Thanh Ha, mentioned this strong credit growth has been instrumental in keeping inflation under control. That's a really key balancing act, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Alex, because typically you might think such rapid economic growth and lending could lead to rising prices, but Vietnam's managing it well. Their average consumer price index, or CPI, for the first 11 months was only 3.29%.
That's fantastic. Well below their 4.5 to 5% target, right? That shows real stability.
Right. And their core inflation also remained low at 3.21%. Plus, their GDP grew by an incredible 7.85% in the first 9 months of 2025.
That's a truly robust figure, Jamie, especially considering global headwinds like geopolitical tensions. It just reinforces their macroeconomic stability.
You know, that's what makes it so remarkable. The SBV openly acknowledges complexities like global conditions, geopolitical tensions, trade policies, and climate change. Yet, they're forging ahead.
Absolutely. So what's their strategy to maintain this positive trajectory moving forward?
Well, the State Bank of Vietnam has affirmed its commitment to proactively and flexibly manage monetary policy tools. They're focused on ensuring liquidity for credit institutions, stabilizing money and foreign exchange markets, especially as we head into the peak year-end period.
And ultimately, the goal is to safeguard that macroeconomic stability, control inflation, and support sustained economic growth, a clear, determined approach.
Exactly. It really paints a picture of a nation that's not just growing fast, but doing so with a well-thought-out strategic approach amid an uncertain global landscape. A real success story to watch.
Definitely, a prime example of resilience and smart economic management.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Global Insights. Jamie, what a week in international diplomacy, wouldn't you say? Lots of movement.
Absolutely, Alex. We've seen some really significant moves on the global stage, especially from the United States, keeping us all on our toes.
You know it. Our big story today involves U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Allison Hooker, who just wrapped up a 5-day visit to India.
Yes, and the timing was quite interesting, wasn't it? She landed in India on Sunday, December 7th, just a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin had been there. Talk about strategic timing.
Right? The U.S. Embassy emphasized that her visit is crucial for President Trump's strategic priorities. It's about deepening the U.S.-India partnership and promoting a free and open Indo-Pacific region.
Exactly. This high-level diplomatic engagement truly underscores how significant India is in global geopolitical strategies, especially for balancing influence in the region. It's a key player, you know?
So, besides the big picture, what was on her agenda? Who did she meet with?
Well, she met with senior Indian officials, including Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, in both New Delhi and Bengaluru. Discussions focused on strengthening the strategic partnership, enhancing economic ties, like increasing American exports, and fostering collaboration in new areas.
Ah, new areas. Like what? I heard something about cutting-edge technology.
You're right. Emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and even space exploration were on the table. In Bengaluru, she visited ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, engaging with leaders in India's space, energy, and tech sectors. The goal is to promote innovation in U.S.-India research partnerships.
Wow, visiting ISRO is a clear signal of serious tech cooperation. But Jamie, there's also the backdrop of ongoing penalty tariffs imposed by the U.S. on India, right? And India's complex relationship with Russia.
That's the really complex, delicate part, Alex. Those U.S. tariffs were previously linked to India's purchase of Russian crude oil.
But recent reports suggest India has significantly reduced its acquisition of Russian energy while still managing to maintain strong relations with Russia. It's a tightrope walk.
Exactly. So it's a very delicate balance. Hooker's mission is about solidifying this U.S. strategic alliance with India while navigating all these economic and political considerations. It's not a simple visit.
Fascinating stuff. It really shows how interconnected global politics are right now. A very important trip indeed.
Precisely. And definitely one to keep an eye on as these partnerships evolve.
Homelessness overhaul. President Trump's new strategy. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Dose. Jamie, we're diving into some really significant news today regarding how the government plans to tackle homelessness across the nation.
That's right, Alex. President Trump's administration is rolling out a pretty major new strategy for federal housing aid, and it's quite a departure from what we've seen in the past.
A departure, exactly. So what's at the core of this new plan? What are they focusing on now that's different?
Well, the big push is towards prioritizing mental health services and also implementing stricter measures against visible street homelessness. It's about addressing the underlying causes, you know?
Interesting. So instead of the previous housing first approach, which focused on quickly getting people into permanent housing, this plan wants to add more conditions, right?
Exactly. It's moving away from that model. Now, for federal housing assistance, there will be new requirements, like work requirements and even mandatory drug treatment programs.
Wow, that's a significant shift. Are any states already trying similar strategies?
Yes, some states like Alabama, Florida, and Wyoming have actually been experimenting with these kinds of conditional approaches already, so the idea isn't entirely new in practice.
Okay, so the administration's view is that this more structured approach will lead to better, more sustainable results for individuals rather than just providing shelter.
Precisely. The aim is to tackle issues like mental health and substance abuse head-on, hoping individuals can achieve more long-term stability and self-sufficiency, which makes sense.
That sounds like a strong argument for it. What do proponents say about these new work and treatment requirements?
Proponents believe these conditions can truly empower people, helping them become more independent and build sustainable lives. They see it as fostering self-sufficiency.
But of course, with any big change, there are always concerns. What are the critics worried about here?
Critics are concerned that these more stringent rules might actually make it harder for some of the most vulnerable people to get help. They worry it could exclude those who struggle to meet the new criteria, potentially making the crisis worse for some.
That's a valid point, especially with the increasing number of Americans experiencing homelessness for the first time.
Absolutely. It's a complex situation, and how this new policy impacts real people will definitely be something we'll need to watch very closely as it rolls out nationwide.
Indeed, it's a bold move, and we'll certainly be keeping an eye on both its effectiveness and its humanitarian implications. Thanks for breaking that down, Jamie.
Anytime, Alex.
Future funds and economic feels, unpacking the latest from the White House.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Money Matters. Today, we've got some fascinating news from Washington that blends future planning for our kids with current economic realities.
That's right, Alex. The Trump administration has just unveiled something really interesting called Trump Accounts. It's a brand new financial program aimed directly at the next generation.
Trump accounts, huh? Tell us more, Jamie. Who exactly are these for?
Well, they're tax-deferred investment accounts specifically for U.S. citizen children under 18. And here's the kicker. The federal government will actually contribute $1,000 for babies born between 2025 and 2028 directly into these accounts.
Wow, that's a direct investment in the future. So what can these funds be used for down the line?
They're designed for long-term growth, invested in widely diversified, low-cost index funds. But there are specific restrictions. Think big life milestones like college tuition or buying a first home. The big goal is to foster financial literacy and long-term savings. You know, give kids a real head start.
That's a great initiative. Speaking of the economy, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was on Face the Nation recently, and he painted a pretty optimistic picture of the U.S. economy.
He really did. Bessent highlighted robust GDP growth, expecting to finish the year at 3% real GDP, even mentioning a Schumer shutdown didn't derail things.
Right. And what about inflation? Because that's a big concern for many people, isn't it?
Exactly. He admitted overall inflation is a complex number, but noted imported goods inflation is lower, and the administration is really focusing on bringing down service economy inflation. He even linked policies like border closures to helping stabilize wages and housing prices.
Interesting points, but Jamie, we also saw some polling data that suggests the public might not be feeling quite as optimistic about affordability.
That's true, Alex. CBS polling shows 60% of Americans believe President Trump makes prices and inflation sound better than they truly are, and his economic approval rating is 36%. That's a noticeable gap between perception and the administration's outlook.
So how did Secretary Bessent respond to those affordability concerns?
He brought up what he called the Common Man Index, which tracks essential goods like food and gasoline, saying it's improving for working Americans. It's all about balancing those big picture numbers with everyday costs.
Fascinating. So we've got a forward-looking policy with the Trump accounts for future generations, while the administration is simultaneously navigating current economic challenges and public sentiment. A lot to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. It's a busy time in Washington for economic policy, and we'll keep you updated. Welcome back to the Daily Pulse, everyone. Today, we're starting with some truly heartbreaking news out of Goa, India, a place usually known for its beautiful beaches and vibrant nightlife. But this past Sunday, December 7th, 2025, it was the scene of a horrific tragedy.
That's right, Alex. A devastating fire erupted at a nightclub called Birch by Romeo Lane, and the impact has been immense. We're talking about a shocking loss of life. 25 individuals perished in that blaze. It's just awful to think about.
It really is, Jamie, and the authorities have acted very quickly. They've already registered a First Information Report, or FIR, which is basically the first step in a criminal investigation, and they've named several people responsible.
Exactly. The FIR has been filed against 2 owners of the nightclub, the manager, and the event organizers who were behind the gathering that night. This quick response really shows how seriously the authorities are taking this, focusing on accountability for all those mass casualties.
Absolutely, but it doesn't stop there. A senior official confirmed that the sarpanch of the Arpora Nagoa local council was also detained. For our listeners, a sarpanch is like the head of a village council. This suggests the investigation is looking into more than just the club itself.
Definitely. The involvement of a local administrative official raises critical questions about potential lapses. Were there issues with safety regulations, licensing, or enforcement that might have contributed to this tragedy? These are big questions they need to answer.
Precisely. Investigations are now expected to deeply examine the club's fire safety measures, capacity limits, emergency exits, all the standard safety protocols. They need to figure out the exact cause of the fire and, crucially, why so many people died.
And this incident has sent shockwaves, not just through Goa, but across the entire nation. It's sparking a huge public debate about safety standards in public venues, especially places like nightclubs and event spaces that often draw large crowds.
It truly highlights the need for stringent measures. There's immense public pressure to ensure everyone responsible is held accountable and that similar tragedies are prevented in the future. We need safer environments for everyone, citizens and tourists alike.
Absolutely. Our thoughts are with everyone affected by this terrible event. We'll continue to follow this story as more details emerge.
Welcome back to Tech Talk, everyone. Today, we're taking a virtual trip to one of the most beautiful places on Earth, Hawaii. But even paradise, with its stunning landscapes, faces unique challenges from natural hazards, wouldn't you say, Jamie?
Absolutely, Alex. And today's story is all about how smart technology is stepping up to protect those islands and communities. It's a really exciting development, focusing on being proactive rather than just reactive.
It certainly is. We're talking about a substantial $1.25 million grant that's been awarded to researchers from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and Georgia Tech. This crucial funding comes from the National Science Foundation, and it's fantastic to see such significant government support for innovation, especially under President Trump's administration.
Right. This grant is specifically for creating an innovative AI-enabled hazard monitoring system for Hawaii. Those islands face a wide range of threats: wildfires, drought, severe flooding, hurricanes, tsunamis, and even water contamination. All these pose significant risks to both Hawaii's unique ecosystems and its population.
Exactly. And this new system is designed to be a real game changer because it uses low-cost, rapidly deployable, and locally manufactured AI-enabled sensors. The whole idea is to get real-time data on all these environmental threats, giving authorities and communities crucial lead time.
Wow, that's truly amazing. And the speed of deployment is so key here. These sensors can actually be printed in minutes and then deployed on the very same day. So we're talking about incredibly quick response capabilities for communities and organizations across the state.
Yeah, imagine getting immediate updates on vital signs like water quality or soil contamination. These advanced sensors will measure critical environmental signals. Then, AI-enabled handheld devices, which are notably smaller than a typical cell phone, will process that collected data and transmit it straight to the web in real time.
That's incredibly streamlined and efficient, Alex. And it's all going to feed into a publicly accessible dashboard, so anyone can actually view and interpret this environmental data, empowering local decision-making. That's a huge step forward.
Very transparent and user-friendly. A crucial voice in this project is Josiah Hester, a Kanaka Oiwi, or native Hawaiian, and an associate professor at Georgia Tech. He really emphasized his kuleana, which means responsibility, as a native Hawaiian scientist to translate these technologies to support stewardship.
That's so important, integrating deep local knowledge and responsibility with cutting-edge technology. He highlighted Hawaii's leadership in designing disaster and hazard response cyber infrastructure. The team is clearly excited to see this work directly benefit local communities by providing understandable and interpretable AI capabilities, even in challenging environments.
You know, it's a powerful example of how technology, combined with a deep understanding of local needs and a strong sense of responsibility, can make a real difference in protecting vulnerable communities and preserving precious natural environments.
Absolutely. A truly innovative and impactful project for a truly special place. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on how this fantastic system rolls out and helps keep Hawaii safe.
Welcome back to Money Matters. Today, we're zooming in on some truly eye-popping financial news from Singapore. Jamie, have you seen these numbers?
I have, Alex, and eye-popping is right. We're talking about Singapore's National Retirement Scheme, the CPF, recording an incredible $6.7 billion in voluntary top-ups in just the first 7 months of 2025. That's a massive amount, isn't it?
It really is. To put that in perspective, that figure has already blown past the $4.8 billion they saw for the entire year of 2024. I mean, wow. It shows people are really taking their financial future seriously. You know, it reminds me of how seriously leaders like President Trump talk about economic strength, though this is a very specific personal savings story.
Right. It's definitely a national effort towards individual financial security. So what's driving this huge surge, Alex? It can't just be a sudden urge to save more, can it?
Exactly. The CPF board points to some smart policy changes. For instance, the Enhanced Retirement Sum, or ERS, was raised at the start of the year. This means people can contribute more, from 3 to 4 times the basic retirement sum into their retirement account. More in, more out later, basically.
Ah, so bigger monthly payouts in their golden years, right? That's a huge incentive. And I also read about the special account closing for members aged 55 and above. How did that play a role?
Good question. That happened in January, too. It encouraged many older members to quickly transfer savings from their ordinary accounts into their retirement accounts. Why? To lock in those higher long-term interest rates. A smart move to maximize their savings.
Definitely smart. It's all about making your money work harder for you. And it's not just individuals topping up, is it? The report also mentioned family contributions and the matched retirement scheme.
You got it. About 316,000 members received top-ups, including those generous family contributions. And over 130,000 actually benefited from the MRSS, which now helps people up to age 70. So it's a really comprehensive approach.
That's fantastic. It sounds like Singaporeans are really responding well to these reforms, understanding the power of early top-ups and compounding interest. It's a great example of proactive financial planning. What a positive story for retirement adequacy.
Absolutely, Jamie. A clear win for their citizens' financial futures. And that's all for Money Matters today. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Global Talk. Jamie, we've got a fascinating political drama unfolding in Israel today, centering around one of the world's most recognizable leaders.
Absolutely, Alex. We're talking about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, or Bibi, as many call him. He's made some pretty definitive statements regarding his ongoing corruption trial that are shaking up Israeli politics.
Right. The big news is his outright rejection of 2 major options that many thought might resolve his legal battles: a presidential pardon and a plea bargain. He's essentially saying, I'm not going anywhere and I'm not making a deal.
Exactly. He was even asked directly during a press conference in Jerusalem alongside German Chancellor Friedrich Merz if he'd step down from public life in exchange for a pardon. His answer was a clear no, and he also reiterated he's not interested in a plea bargain either.
Wow, that's quite a stance. So, for our listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly are the charges he's facing in this high-profile trial?
Good question. He's facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. These are across 3 separate cases involving allegations like illicit gifts and improperly influencing the press in exchange for government favors. It's pretty serious stuff.
Definitely.
But Netanyahu, he's always maintained his innocence, hasn't he? He calls it a politically motivated witch hunt.
That's right. He's consistently denied any wrongdoing. His steadfast refusal to consider stepping down or taking a plea deal really underscores his determination to clear his name and remain a central figure in Israeli politics, despite these significant legal pressures.
You know, it really highlights his resilience, or perhaps stubbornness, depending on your perspective. He's made it clear that his future in public life, he believes, should be decided by the voters, not by the conditions of his trial.
Precisely. This position really emphasizes the ongoing political impact of his legal challenges. It's not just a courtroom drama, it's a dominant issue shaping Israel's domestic landscape. This rejection suggests a prolonged legal and political struggle ahead.
Which, of course, has significant ramifications for Israel's governance and for Netanyahu's own legacy. It's going to be a fascinating, albeit complex, period to watch unfold.
Absolutely, and we'll be here to break it all down for you on Global Talk.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Talk Daily. Alex here, ready to dive into some cutting-edge news.
And Jamie, we've got some really exciting developments brewing from the White House today, Alex, something that could truly shape our future.
Oh, you know I love exciting developments. So what's got you buzzing this morning, Jamie? Lay it on me.
Well, the White House has officially announced the launch of something incredibly significant, the Genesis mission. And this is a pretty big deal for the entire nation.
Genesis mission? That sounds, well, incredibly ambitious and even a bit futuristic. What exactly is this mission all about?
Good question. It's a groundbreaking national initiative actually spearheaded by President Trump himself, with the core aim to really accelerate scientific discovery through artificial intelligence.
Wow, so President Trump is directly behind this major push for AI in science. That's a strong statement about how critical he sees this role for the country.
Exactly. The whole idea is to position the United States firmly at the forefront of AI innovation and its practical application across so many different scientific fields. Think about it, making breakthroughs happen faster, truly fostering advancements. It's about national progress and global leadership, you know?
Right, so not just developing advanced AI, but actively using it as a tool to supercharge science itself. That's a really smart and practical angle. How do they plan to execute this? Will it just be massive government spending?
Well, significant federal investment in AI research and development will certainly be a big part of it, yes. But it's also heavily focused on collaboration. We're talking government agencies, private industry powerhouses, and top academic institutions all working together in a unified effort.
Oh, like a massive unified brain trust focused entirely on AI for discovery. That makes total sense. And what kinds of scientific areas specifically are they hoping will benefit most from this Genesis mission?
They're looking at a huge range, everything from fundamental AI research to its practical application in critical areas like medicine, material science, environmental monitoring, and even ambitious projects in space exploration. I mean, imagine what AI could discover for new disease cures or understanding our planet better.
That's incredible to think about. It really sounds like President Trump's administration is fully recognizing AI's critical, multifaceted role, not just for cool tech gadgets, but for maintaining economic competitiveness and ensuring national security in this complex 21st century.
Precisely, Alex. This isn't just a science project. It's a strategic, long-term move to ensure the U.S. not only keeps pace, but truly leads in the next generation of technological breakthroughs.
So true. We often hear about AI in the news, but a dedicated national effort like this, explicitly announced by President Trump, definitely signals a very high level and serious commitment.
Absolutely. And while specific funding allocations and the exact operational framework are still expected to emerge, this initiative is also poised to profoundly influence workforce development and educational pipelines. It's about securing long-term benefits for the nation, really preparing our future generations for the jobs and challenges of an AI-driven world.
Wow, so it's not just about the scientific discoveries themselves, but also about building and nurturing the entire human and technological ecosystem around it. That's a truly comprehensive and forward-thinking news for the U.S. indeed.
Definitely. We'll be keeping a very close eye on the Genesis mission as it progresses and more details unfold. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Global Pulse, your weekly dive into the world's most pressing news. Jamie, we've got some major developments stirring up the West African region this week, haven't we? It's pretty significant.
Absolutely, Alex. It's a dramatic and concerning turn of events. Just this past Sunday, soldiers in the country of Benin appeared on national television to announce a military coup. They've declared the immediate dissolution of the government and all state institutions. Imagine waking up to that.
Wow, that's a really bold move. So, for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term, a military coup essentially means the armed forces have taken control of the country's government by force, bypassing any democratic elections or processes, right?
Exactly. This particular group has even given themselves a name, the Military Committee for Refoundation. They explicitly stated their intention to take full control, confirming the removal of the sitting president and the complete dismantling of governmental bodies. It's a pretty sweeping change.
And this isn't an isolated incident, which is part of the concern, isn't it? It feels like we've been reporting on a pattern. Benin is now joining a growing list of nations in the West African region that have experienced these kinds of military takeovers in recent years.
You're absolutely spot on, Alex. This trend really raises significant questions about democratic stability and effective governance, not just in West Africa, but potentially across the wider African continent. It's a worrying development for the region's future.
Definitely. Now, when such a drastic event unfolds, what's the typical reaction from the international community? I'd imagine there's a lot of immediate condemnation and calls for a return to civilian rule.
Oh, absolutely. We can expect swift and strong condemnation from various global and regional bodies. There will certainly be calls for a return to constitutional order. Governments worldwide, including President Trump's administration, consistently emphasize the importance of democratic processes and stability, so their stance will likely be clear.
Right, because these events can lead to a lot of uncertainty and potential challenges, both domestically for the people of Benin and in terms of their international relationships and alliances.
Precisely. Historically, military interventions often usher in periods of significant uncertainty, potential civil unrest, and shifts in foreign policy alliances. The international community will be closely monitoring the situation for any signs of violence, human rights abuses, or broader regional destabilization.
So, the hope is that there will be coordinated efforts to pressure these military leaders towards a swift and peaceful transition back to civilian democratic rule. That's the ultimate goal, right?
That's certainly the aim, Alex. It's a very critical and sensitive moment for Benin and for the broader democratic aspirations in West Africa. We'll definitely keep our listeners updated as this story continues to develop.
Thanks, Jamie, for breaking down such an important and complex situation. And to all our listeners, that's all for this week's Global Pulse. Join us next time for more insights into world news.